Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is so nice to see all of you joining us from both Europe and Africa today. My name is Eric Haugen. I am the CEO of Connect My Apps, the inventors of Inira, which you are going to hear more about in a few minutes. Just a few practical pieces of information. There is a Q&A function attached to this Teams webinar, of course. We'd be happy to take your questions and answer them. We will try to do that in the actual, Q&A chat. And if we don't manage to answer them all by the end of this session, don't worry, we will follow up with you afterwards. So settle in and enjoy yourself for what will probably be somewhere between 30 to 40 minutes. And as I said, and I'm just going to do a little bit of behind the scenes sharing of some information for you to make this properly exciting. Of course, we need to have a PowerPoint. Now, as I said, my name is Eric, but I won't be here alone. I'm very pleased to also have Arnhild Grimstad. She is the HR director for Amesto, a business process outsourcing company in Norway, IT consultancy, payroll management, accountants, etc. And Arnhild is kind of the I don't know how she co-inventor, the little bit of the maternity nurse for Inira. We'll hear more about how she came up with, the background and the idea of, how can we make information flow better, and how can we use new technology to save a lot of time that we can spend on other more important things. And also, very pleased to have Luke Buckley also attending with me today. Luke is a co-founder of CMA, and he's also our Chief Solutions Officer. And he's kind of the male maternity nurse, if you like, of Inira, the brainchild behind the technology, and he's going to do the live demo for you. That in just a few minutes to come. Now, I appreciate that not all of you know who we at Connect My Apps are. We've been around for over a decade now, and our specialty is automation and software integrations. That being CRMs, ERP, lots of HR systems, it's file, it's cloud, it's on-prem, all sorts of different ways of creating better workflow of data. Most of it sensitive and precious data that we move through our own integration platform called Canvas. So people like to call us the integration experts, and we appreciate that very much, obviously. Now, and we do this for a number of different types of companies in various and many different industries across Europe and also in South Africa. So this is kind of the background where we came from in terms of new technology that allows us to do something really exciting about not just moving data, but actually using it in a smarter way. And it's all about AI. That's the big rave these days, right? That's what everybody's talking about. But this is not some abstract use of it. This is a concrete user case, specialized and designed for a specific user case area like HR. And AI can be used for nearly any type of business segment. We've decided at least to start with HR. So this comes from the background of the fact that we move data all day and in a safe, secure, and cost-effective manner. And we think AI is the next natural way for automation to work. This is the new frontier, if you like. Now, as I said, we work with a lot of different types of companies, and many of them also in the HR space. This became a little bit natural to us. And now the problem that we were exposed to, and the reason why we decided to develop this product, is because we were challenged, and we absolutely love being challenged. And of course, as you can imagine, this was then Arnhild Grimstad who was making this challenge to us, which is about how can we make things smarter. And I'm very pleased that Arnhild is joining me here today. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Being a fan and everything.
Of course.
Let's wind the clock back to October, November last year. and a little coffee chat that you and I had.
Yes. And yeah, that's where it all started, which is also the reason why we're standing here today.
So you came to me with a challenge, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. We had a coffee chat, and I remember we were talking about what types of challenges do I face, working in HR, and especially maybe as an HR director, in my day-to-day work. And you asked, like, maybe my team, Connect My Apps, can help solve some of these issues.
Tell me about those issues. That's
Yes,
paint the picture here.
so we quickly started talking about what I consider the main challenge within the HR area, which is HR reporting. Having control over your HR data, and also being able to present this data in a timely manner, but also, complex reports, detailed reports, often used by the management team, board of directors, and so on. And I explained to you how much time I spent on this task every single month, and that the kind of core challenge with this is that most of this data is extracted from a lot of different systems. Because in an ideal world, you would have all the data and all the information that you need in one place. That was not the case.
It usually is not.
It usually is not.
Yeah.
And also, to build on that, I also told you about how I was then every month working in Excel, extracting all of this data, trying to compile it in Excel to make a useful report, and how much time this actually took, and also, the high risk of error that can happen when you're doing this manually.
And when you came with that, and I went to Luke and talked about, we got this great challenge, and we like to race, up to a challenge, and it didn't take very long for us to understand that you were not really looking for just like a Power BI dashboard, were you?
No, not at all. I was like, it needs to be, let's say, better or more an easier kind of solution than that. Because with Power BI as well, if you want to make one change to the setup or the report that you want to generate, that also requires a lot of time to go in there. You need someone also to have the knowledge, the competence to actually make those changes. So no, I wanted a tool, something that would gather all the data, and that I can just say, I want this and this. Can you please hand it over to me?
And the journey from deciding this is not just a new dashboard to saying, well, actually, what we're talking about is an AI agent,
Yeah.
and now you have it. I mean,
Yes.
what does it mean for your team? What's going on in Amesto now with using Inira?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I have to say it's for me still unbelievable that we're here today, because I remember you looking at me during our conversation and asking me, but what if we could present this? What if we could give you this tool that you're looking for? And to say that I was excited would be an understatement.
I agree.
But here we are today, and you have actually developed this. And for my team, my department, it's extremely useful, of course. You will talk a bit more about that, but first and foremost, of course, it's extremely time saving, because a lot of the tasks that we handle in HR, it's admin tasks, and most of these are also manual tasks that require a lot of time. They're very time consuming, and now we have all of our data that we use in our day-to-day jobs gathered in one place. And then we have Inira, which is now our HR colleague, who can do anything from answer simple HR inquiries to creating more complex detailed reports for us. So just there, the time that we save with having this tool is incredible. But more importantly, I would say it's with that, the time that we save, we can spend on more strategic HR. So we have more time to work on bigger projects and HR initiatives. And that's, of course, very cool and fun and more engaging for me and my team. But it's also very, of course, beneficial for our employees and the company as a whole, because it directly impacts the bottom line. the way we work now, this shift.
Because I mean, we had also a conversation about, what can an AI do? And we had someone say, but, could you help me create like a plan for how I should improve, let's say, the employee engagement score? And you put your hand up and said, hang on. Okay, we can use the bot for the insights and so on, but humans are better maybe, and having the how to use the data.
Yeah.
We still need the human in the mix, right? We're not replacing the humans totally.
Oh, not at all. It's just what we actually spend our time doing, and that we now can focus our time on the strategic initiatives and the projects, and also yeah, when you have Inira that does all kind of the manual tasks and the admin tasks, we can focus.
And that was the objective.
Different shift, yes.
Make sure you have more time
to
spend on employees and the effects around it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention before we go to demo?
Yes, there's a couple of things, because if we have a lot of maybe people with us here today, I hope, that work in the HR field, there's two very important points I would like to highlight. First and foremost, it's the data reliability, the being able to trust the data that is presented. HR data, it lays the foundation for the people strategy and the work that we actually do in HR. So being reassured that you can trust the data that you base this strategy on is, of course, very important. And minimizing manual work also minimizes the risk that there's errors in your data. And the other thing that is very important, and I think a lot of people watching this and joining us today are thinking about, is data security. We handle highly confidential data. So for HR to utilize AI, we need absolute insurance that our data is protected, that it's safe, that we can use it without being afraid of it, leaking or being shared with people it shouldn't be shared with, and so on. And with Inira, we have that assurance. So that's a very important point to mention.
And Luke and I will touch upon that a little bit later on in terms of how actually this is done to make sure that your sensitive, the personal data that is in the HR systems, the various HR systems, are indeed protected.
Yes, and that's very good, because final note from me, that will be now also Luke's job to show all of you that this is groundbreaking, this development within the HR field, because there's nothing like it on the market today. And it really helps HR, professionals like myself to do our job even better. So your job now is to show this to everyone here today, that this is actually very groundbreaking, and it can change the way we operate in the HR field.
Thank you. And we will prove this to you in just a few minutes. I'm just going to give a little bit of an intro for you before I let Luke go into the live demo. Because the question people are saying, who is this Inira, this wonderful lady? Essentially, what you're looking at is an AI agent that has access to all the different data from various different sources in a safe and secure manner. And you will see the interface, and you'll have this demonstrated in a few minutes. It's like you would expect from any type of classic AI and LLM, like ChatGPT or others. It's conversational. You can store your favorites. You can have multiple conversations. You can upload your own documents. You can do queries. You can do most of the things that you are familiar with from, let's say, ChatGPT. But in this case, it's actually a safe environment where you can trust that your data is not shared or used for training or anything like that at all. So have your questions answers, make tables and graphs, ask the questions, across all these different data sources, see the correlation between them, to calculate averages and calculate and see correlations between data from different sources, maybe get access to sources that are less evident or less accessible to certain users, because maybe they come from a different source, which is hard to get access to. And of course, Inira can also do tasks for you. So, saving all that time that Arnhild was talking about. From there, I am going to, send the next speaker onto the stage, and I'm very pleased that this this is going to be done by my esteemed colleague Luke Buckley, who's going to show you Inira. And I think with no further ado, I'll say, Luke, take it away.
Hi everyone, and thanks Eric and thanks Arnhild for a good intro, and thank you all for joining. I'll get straight to it and I'll share my screen. And welcome to Inira, your new best friend if you work in HR. So with this demo, I'm actually going to use Inira, and we're going to try to kind of do some common things, answer some common questions, and maybe some uncommon questions, but trying to show you the power of what's possible, and also hopefully the ease of use that you can use Inira. So in this demo, Inira is connected to my test company. So everything you see in terms of data is not real. You don't have to worry about any GDPR breaches in this digital event. And as Eric was just touching on, the interface should be very familiar to anyone who has used an AI agent or chatbot in the past. So in this case, we can dive right in. And you're asking, how can I help? And we're going to start off nice and slow. We're just going to say, okay, first thing, show me all employees that work in my company. So let's just see, what does my company look like? Who's here? So while we go and we ask the question, Inira goes off and comes back with the answer. So you can see here, she has generated a response, and here I can see a table of everybody within my company, and I can see there's 821 people, and I can scroll through their core data. If I want to see an expanded view, of course I can go to the expanded view, and we get quite a broad selection of information because we didn't really specify what we wanted. We kind of more or less just said show me everyone, and that's exactly what we got. But let's go back to the chart and let's kind of be a bit more fine-tuned here. Okay, I want to say can you show me everyone again? But this time, let's say I want to see departments, but this time I want to also see what department they work in. So again, as with all AI agents, Inira works with natural language. So you can express yourself in whatever way you wish. And I should also say that Inira works in any language. So even though I'm using English today out of the box, if you wish to use Norwegian, Danish, German, French, you name it, Inira supports it. So here I have the list of all of my employees again, and over here on the far right side, I have my department name, which is what I asked for. So I made my query a little bit more specific. But then a question comes in about the accounting department. So let's go back to my chat and say, can you please, I'm a polite guy, can you please show me everyone that works in the accounting departments? Okay, so I want to narrow in even more. And here we go. We get everybody in the accounting department. It's 33 people. And then an interesting question comes in. What's the average salary of the people working in the accounting department? Because Inira is not just about fetching data and showing it as a table. You can do calculations, you can do visualizations, and so on, the things that typically you might expect to only be able to do in Excel. So in this case, okay, can you tell me the average salary of everyone in the accounting department? So we kick it off and we'll see what Inira comes and crunches back. And she comes back and we get the answer. And not only that, but you may have noticed that Inira also shows her work, as we call it, because trustworthiness is a key thing of how the answer was derived from. So in this case, Inira will say how she got there. So this also gives you the opportunity to kind of see behind the prompt, see behind the data, and also gives you the opportunity to maybe re-specify something that maybe was misunderstood in the same way that you would talk with a human colleague, where maybe you ask a question and you get a response and then you need to refine the question. That's something that Inira works very, very well with in a chat style. Okay, and now let's say, can you show me the top 5 earners in my company? The CEO has asked, who earns the most in this company? So let's go and see what we get. And here we get top 5. And then over here, we can see the salary. Okay, now this is interesting. But then another question comes in of what's the gender split of this? How do we rank with paying women as opposed to men? So in this case, I can refine my question even more and say, can you show me the top 5 earners again, but this time, can you also show their gender? So let's see. And here we get the top 5, and we can see if the top 5, 4 are male and 1 is female. So maybe that's something we should consider. Another common question when working with AI is, hallucination. And Arnhild was in on this earlier of, can you trust what you're seeing? And here you can, because this is your data. There's no hallucination. There's no invention. Inira is interpreting your questions and then figuring out how to find the data that you want, but the data that you see is what you have. So there isn't anything being created here which you might be used to if you ask ChatGPT or other large language models or agents to generate content. We're not actually generating content in the sense we're actually getting answers for you. So let's switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to start just a new chat just to keep it tidy. And I want to consider who is starting in my company. Are we an attractive company? Who comes here to work? What is the breakdown of that? So let's start off with a question of, can you show me everyone that started working in my company last year? Now, I don't actually have to keep saying things like in my company and so on, and Inira will know, but as I'm in a demo, I'm just being, I guess I'm being extra careful that everyone is following along. So here I can see we have 21 people that have started, and I can see what department, when they started, and I see their name. So in this case, we didn't necessarily say to Inira exactly what we wanted to see, but she made a pretty good guess. She said, well, okay, you'll want to see the people, you'll want to know pretty much when they started, and maybe you want to know the department name as well, because that's a common thing to want to know of, which department is hiring more, or which, department is retaining people, and so on. And maybe we want to do this again, and we say, okay, this is interesting, but can you show me all new starters last year? But I want to see them by gender. So how are we doing with hiring of men versus women? Okay, so I want to be gender. Can you make me a chart? Now, you might also notice that I'm correcting any misspellings. Inira is very tolerant of misspelling, but I am not. So my OCD insists that I correct my words, and that's just who I am. So here we get a visualization. So this is also because I requested one. So here I can see of the 21 people, 15 were male and 6 were female. Now, maybe this is useful information. Maybe it's something I need to action on, or maybe this tracks with what I expect. But you don't need to do anything special to generate charts or graphs. You can just simply ask and you will get it. And what's also possible to do is, in the same way that chats are saved and you can revisit them, I can also save or favorite any response that I think is super interesting into my dashboard. So let's just say new starters by gender. So then I can confirm, and then this chart will be stored here under my charts list. And at any time I want to come and review it, I can come back and review it. Sorry, wrong screen. There we go. There we go. So to review it, so you can actually kind of customize and make your own dashboards on the fly and save things that are interesting for later without having to kind of reinvent your conversation all over again. So I'm going to come back to my chat, and I'm going to start a new chat, and I'm going to switch to another use case. So let's say we're going to plan a company event, and we're going to do it in July. But I want to make sure as many people as possible can be there, and people take vacation in July. Maybe July isn't the best month, but that's the orders from the top, so I have to make do. So what I will say is let's try and figure out what the best date is to have our company event. So I'm planning a company event in July. Can you show me everyone taking vacation or taking absence, maybe, because, we also want to consider sick leave, taking absence in July. So let's just see, what do we get here? Okay, and here we get a list of all absences, and by name and by start date, end date, absence type, and so on. So, okay, that's useful, but let's say we want to narrow it a bit more and say, okay, I'm thinking of doing this on July 5th. Can you tell me who is absent on July 5th? So let's be specific. And we get a list. Okay, 63 people. That's quite a lot, but we're a company of 800 people, so maybe that's, within the range. Let's try a different date and say, can you tell me who is absent on July 20th? Let's try a different date. Here, and I get 77. So actually, it looks like my first date was better. I will have more people that would be able to attend. So I can keep this conversation. I can keep refining it. I could even in the end make a report, or I could, present options to management, whatever it might be. And an important thing here is also to bear in mind is that Inira is one interface, one agent, one chat experience, but the data sources behind can be many. So you might have vacation data in your HR application, you might have payroll data in payroll, you might have time and attendance, you might have a learning management system, you might have an applicant tracking system. All of those sources can be pulled into one place that Inira can work across, which is one of the key benefits. Now, for my event, I want to serve a dinner, and I'm a bit worried about allergies. So I'm going to ask, this is something that I track in my HR application. Can tell us if they have allergies? Can you show me everyone with an allergy? And here I get a list. Okay, so there's 184 people with allergies of various kinds, and I can see the type of allergy here. And okay, this is great, but maybe I need a visual. I need something a little bit more easy to understand. Okay, can you show me the count of employees with an allergy? I want this in a chart so I can share it with my boss. And here we go. So then we've got with allergies and without. Now I would probably want to refine this even more and say specifically what allergies. Maybe a pollen allergy is less important to an indoor event in July, but a shellfish allergy would be very important to know before we start serving lobster for main course. So again, I can keep going with this, and I can save these into my dashboard or in my chats for further reference. I'm going to switch gears again, and I'm going to start a new chat. And this time I'm going to move over to what we would call unstructured data. So right now I've been working with the data that lives inside in my HR application or my payroll or whatever application it might be behind the scenes. And that's what we call structured data, meaning that it's neatly ordered. Everybody has the same rows and columns and fields. But unstructured is typically things like documents. So every company has many documents, from company policy to vacation policy to, how to procure equipment from IT. And often that's information you want to share with Inira so that Inira can actually tailor her answers even more to your specific question in your specific company. So to take an example of this, if I just go out to my desktop for one moment, I have a document called vacation policy, which is the vacation policy for my pretend company that I work in this demo. And this is according to Norwegian law. So all of the normal things about Norwegian law apply, like you get 25 working days vacation, employees over 60 get more, but policy can be two things. It can be the law of how things have to be, and it can also be the company policy of how they want things to be. So for example, everybody gets 25 working days, but the company would like that people take 3 weeks in July, because then they can make sure that they get the most of the absence out of the way before, while everyone's on vacation and before customers and everything wake up after and things get busier. So I want this document to be included in Inira so that she can draw on it in any conversation that people want to have about vacation. So to do this, I can actually just upload a document, and I can do this with any document or documents. And okay, I'm going to upload it, and I'm saying, can you please explain how vacation works here? So we're now providing additional what we would call context to Inira so that she has more information to make a specific answer. And here she comes back with a summary of the document, as you would expect, but it's my company. She's explaining how things work, the key parts, and so on. And we also see that employees age over 60 get 6 extra days. Maybe I would want to go back and ask, okay, how many people are turning 60 this year? What does that mean? And so on. Now, we get a common we see a common, I guess, thread out there of companies trying to motivate younger workers. And how do you talk to Gen Z? Okay, so we've been kind of quite serious and straight in this demo so far. We can have a little bit of fun here and say, that was great, but can you explain vacation policy again, like I'm a Gen Z? Let's see what we get. So now we need to put it in a language that the younger generation understands. And I'm not in the younger generation anymore, so I need some help. And here, okay, all right, here's the vacation sitch. I'm guessing this makes sense to somebody under 25. But you can see here, you can have some fun. Again, the information is factual. There's not a hallucination of the content. It's just, in this case, we're having a bit of fun with the style. So, you know, really with unstructured data, you can do pretty much anything that you want to do. And then between that and your real application data, you can join that together and kind of really make things interesting and powerful. That's as much as I was going to show in the demo. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to pass back to my colleagues and see you soon. And if anyone has any questions, please come in the chat either now or contact us after, and we'll do our best to answer. Thank you.
That is great, and thank you so much, Luke, for that. It is very interesting to see, you know, what the options are in terms of, you know, the real story here, and maybe you'll just join me here, Luke, because the interesting part is the amount of questions and the variables is almost infinite, right? I mean, you just, you know, scrape the surface.
We could be here all day. Yeah.
But, you know, can I do calculations to say what is the sick leave, you know, in a certain department, or staff turnover in a certain department? I can get information like that.
Absolutely, you can. So I would kind of say this is enabling HR teams to do things that is often only the domain of Power BI specialists or people, you know, with advanced technical skills. Here, you don't need the technical skills. You don't need to say how to make the chart. You can offload all of that to Inira and she'll figure it out. You just need to give her what you want to see.
And we also did things like succession planning based on the data. I mean, there's just so much that you can do, but it's all about what kind of data you actually put in. And then we touch upon this very important part, which is the data security, the information security. And for that, I'm just going to bring up, you know, a little bit more information on the slide here for us to be able to explain this to you, because it is critical to make sure that the data is right, so there's no hallucinations, right? But people, you know, are wary about, you know, sensitive data being exposed to an AI. So how have we done this so that the data is safe?
Great question. And I would say we designed Inira from the ground up with a kind of a security and privacy first, and then everything else would come after. So the key way we solve the fear of sharing your data with the AI is we don't share your data with the AI, which sounds counterintuitive because how does Inira know how to give answers? So what we actually do is we store the data and we tell Inira how the data is structured and how you would get it. So when you ask a question, you know, show me everybody in the accounting department, what Inira is doing is saying, okay, I would make a query that goes and finds all employees where the department equals accounting. But she doesn't actually see the data itself. So the whole actual data retrieval part is done separately from the AI. So we give you the best of both worlds. You get the natural language prompt experience of the AI and the user friendliness, and you get the data security of having a firewall between the AI and your data.
And that is, of course, critical. And it allows for this safety to actually, you know, be real.
Yes.
But also, this also means, because we're using Claude from Anthropic, which we're very pleased to use, and a part of the whole Amazon Web Services tech stack.
Yes.
Which is also where we have our integration platform, Canvas, as illustrated on this slide. But tell me a little about how, you know, what does it mean that we're part of this AWS Bedrock and Claude, and you know, how does that work in terms of safety with let's say, our version of Claude?
Yeah. So the way it works is, well, we host Inira within AWS's infrastructure, and we host it within their infrastructure in the EU. So that's very important to say. First of all, nothing leaves the EU in terms of anything that you ask, your data storage, and so on. The second part is we use AI, which is the model behind is Claude, as you mentioned, from Anthropic, but it's hosted in what Amazon called Bedrock. So AWS Bedrock is their AI service built into their infrastructure. And they guarantee that your data is not retained, that is not used for training, that in effect you get your own private instance of Claude. So we have double safety here in that we're not actually sharing the data with Inira. And the second part is, even if we did, you're within the EU, you're secure, you're guaranteed, and nothing is retained or used for training or other purposes that you wouldn't want.
Yeah, and as information security is paramount to us in Connect My House, this is what we do every day.
Yeah.
So this is where, we kind of, come full circle, because we come from an automation and integration, background, and moving data is what we do. But now we're adding more insight and more functionality on top of this, and this is only the beginning. This is the first module, which we call the Oracle.
Yeah.
But there are things coming which we're not going to touch upon here today, because it's probably a lot of information, and your minds are maybe not exploding, but at least maybe you have a lot of queries. But there are obviously a new world coming here with how integrations and how data is moved with the coming technology. We can touch about that a little bit later on. I'm going to make sure that we are within our time. Now, it's an important thing that we have launched this product. It is available in what we call early access. What that means is you can sign up and you pay an onboarding fee, but you get 3 months of free use. Now, we allow you then to connect to up to 3 cloud API connections. And if you don't like it, you can cancel any time. Now, we think you like it, so we're not to worry about that. There are several who have already signed up. Very pleased about that. We have about 23 seats left on this early access period. So, if you like, get in touch with us and see if we can help you, help yourself to have a better work day, and to help your colleagues and make the HR admin day a lot simpler. The clock is excuse me, the clock is a bit ticking on this, but there are seats left. Let us know. I'll let you know how in a minute. So look, coming to this, is there anything that we've missed that we need to bring to the audience before we round up for the day?
What I think the big thing is this is still day one of, for the world with, it's been said that, AI is going to be the new UI, and I'm thinking that's coming across. So you saw how simple the interface was. It was not like 100 buttons and tables and tabs. It was you and Inira having a conversation in the same way that you would have with a colleague, a human colleague. So I think there's so much to come. Like you touched on, what we were doing today is what we would call like the Oracle mode, where we are asking questions, we're visualizing data, we're reporting, we're crunching numbers. But, to come is the agentic part, where you will be able to delegate tasks to Inira, things that, you don't have time for, or they're time consuming, or you want to be able to scale your HR department. If you're a HR department that wants to spend more time on the people and less time on the process, you can delegate the process to Inira.
And this is exactly what Arnhild was on about, right?
Exactly what he was on about.
Spending time with humans, where humans can really make the real difference.
The whole point.
Which is not, extracting Excel, data into Excel and spend time on doing those things. Okay. If you'd like to join our early access program, get in touch on info@connectmyhouse.com. There's more information to be found on inira.ai. And I think we'll round off there. If you need more information, get in touch with us. And hopefully we will invite you in, or allow you to enjoy the world of Inira. Luke, thank you so much. I also like to thank Arnhild Grimstad for joining us today. And all of you out there, I hope you enjoyed it. Get in touch if you want more information. I wish you a fantastic Friday. Thank you.